What's good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason. We are back here for another one. Got a good one for you today. I hope everyone is enjoying their Thursday wherever you are and with whatever you're doing, whether you're at home, whether you're at work. Thank you for joining me. We got a good one today. I had a chance to sit down with David Furones. He is the Dolphins beat writer and Dolphins columnist for the Sun Sentinel. You've seen him throughout training camp and during the regular season. He's not only had his columns, but he does the post-game videos with David Hyde and, of course, Omar Kelly. So I had a chance to sit down with him yesterday after the media availabilities and just talk about the Dolphins, heading into the bye week. So we had an interesting conversation. I'm going to show that to you guys. But before we do, everyone's talking about playoff scenarios, and how the Dolphins can get in. But what I want to do weekly is I want to update you games that should be piquing your interest, games you should be interested, teams you should be rooting for, because those games impact the Dolphins' playoff chances. So we're going to be looking weekly at who you should be rooting for heading into the weekend. I'll probably add it to my preview shows, so we'll be doing that. So, let's start off with the first edition, especially with only, we've only got 4 games left, right? 5 weeks left in the NFL if you include this Sunday. So we're getting to the nitty gritty. A lot of interdivisional games going to be going on, especially in the AFC North right now. They're going to be impacting us with the Steelers, the Bengals, the Browns, and obviously the Ravens. We're gonna be Raven fans down the stretch, people. I'm letting you know that right now. So let's get into the first edition of who you should be rooting for this weekend, guys. This is who we should be rooting for during your bye week with the Bengals against San Francisco. I know it's going to be hard because there's draft pick and capital implications on the line, but we have to be, if we want the playoffs, got to be rooting for San Francisco. Baltimore and Cleveland, we're going to be rooting for Baltimore, hoping Cleveland continues to slide down. Tampa Bay versus Buffalo, I think it'll be easy for us to root for Tampa Bay, especially all of you who are rooting for Buffalo against New England and you had your heart broken by their outing, because I know a lot of you swallowed your pride having to root for them and they let you down anyways. KC versus Las Vegas, going to be rooting for KC. Probably one of the more unlikely outcomes on the schedule. We're going to be rooting for Detroit over Denver. Really, really don't know if I see that happening. It's going to be a tough one, that's for sure. And then obviously we're going to be rooting for Minnesota over Pittsburgh. Their offense has been really up and down, so we'll see how that goes. And then New York versus the Chargers, though we just beat them, everyone's going to be a Giants fan this weekend as they take on the Chargers. I think the Giants and Detroit have the lowest possibility of winning, so therefore probability of helping us out. So we'll see how it all winds up, but that's how it looks heading into this weekend, and those are the teams you should be rooting for on the Dolphins bye, everyone. That said, guys, let's go ahead. Let's get into my interview and Dolphins discussion with David Furones of the Sun Sentinel. Remember to check him out on Instagram and check him out on Twitter. Just search David Furones. He will pop up. Great guy. Appreciated the conversation. Let's get to it, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Thanks for joining me here, David. Guys, we got David Furones from the Sun Sentinel here, who covers the Dolphins. You cover the Canes too, correct? So you must be super busy with the crystal ball news and everything going on right there. Must be a wild time over there for you.
Well, I did, yeah. I was a couple of years on the Canes beat and attended the University of Miami, so actually go back to covering them as a student back then. But now, obviously I focus on the Dolphins now. But I was still checking in on all the crystal ball news and stay active on Twitter on that side too. There's a lot of dual fan base here in Miami, so.
What do you think about that? What do you think about that whole situation and how it played out? Because I read Coach Manny's statement and there was kind of some backhanded, underhanded, slights in there and stuff. And obviously because, the way he was handled, but just your overall thoughts on how that situation was handled before we get into the Miami Dolphins stuff here.
Yeah, I think you can't blame the Canes for pursuing a guy that they feel is going to put them over the top. And right now you see this financial commitment that we had not previously seen from this program until a little bit when Mark Richt was hired. There was some of that where they finally stepped up after the hires of kind of going the easy route with an up and comer, like promoting an assistant in Larry Coker, Randy Shannon. After that, then Al Golden going that route. Where he was coming up from Temple, and they kind of dipped back into it with Manny Diaz, where the former AD of Blake James just hired him the same day when Rick retired, which he was going to lose him, his defensive coordinator at the time, taking a Temple job, but then he didn't need to take a job like Miami that quickly, and then we saw how that played out. So similar to his predecessors like Shannon and Golden before that. So I think. Sure, it is a little awkward whenever you have a coach in place and then you're still pursuing another guy, but it seemed like the brass at the University of Miami, which also did not have an active, they had an interim AD in place while this was going on, so they're still pursuing Dan Radakovich to try to get him over from Clemson. So, it is a little awkward. You have your guy there, but it seems like the brass there wanted him if they couldn't go and get their top choice this round, which is Mario Cristobal, and a guy I think should have been the top choice the previous time too.
Yeah. All right, so let's switch gears here to the Dolphins. So they start off 1-7. They're on a 5-game winning streak. The defense has been dominant. It's undisputable in my eyes. Tua has been a contributing factor to the W's. He's getting progressively better. He's reading the field better. He's making the right read a lot more than he was, especially last year. Even if that is a check down that the defense is giving him, he's taking what the defense is giving him. Obviously the RPO game, it's an extension of the lack of a run game we have right now. The death by 1,000 cuts is what I call it. It's also, when you get the ball out in under 2.5 seconds, you're going to mask the deficiencies that the offensive line has right now, worse than the NFL in pass block win rate, which is, of course, as people know, holding a block longer than 2.5 seconds. What's been your thoughts of this 5-game winning streak? Because, even all of us that expected playoffs, I don't know if we expected a 5-game winning streak at some point in this season. I believe the Dolphins in the 2000s, the longest winning streak. They've won 6 in a row twice, 2 different times in the 2000s. Just your overall general thoughts before we dive into specifics here about them on this 5-game winning streak.
Yeah, I think they found a lot of things that they've been successful with. Really. Sure, the win streak started with the game against the Houston Texans, which was a very ugly one. But then, really, in that Baltimore game, then some things we're going to touch on, I know, but going with those cover zero looks, the safety blitzes, going ahead and letting X and Byron go and cover on the outside man-to-man that allows you to run those defenses and on offense. Allowing that short passing game to mask some of those deficiencies on the offensive line. Tua's high completion percentage and efficiency, even dealing with some injuries to offensive playmakers, not having Will Fuller and Devontae Parker for much of this, and he's still doing what he's doing. So, overall, I think, they found a lot of things. And, if Tua was healthy, then earlier in the season, you have to imagine this team would be not just on the edge of this in the hunt conversation that we always see. Are they going to show them in the graphic or not? They're right on the edge. There'd be that last team that if they're leaving them out, they're just half a game away from those last teams that they are showing there. But, they've gotten themselves to a point where it is possible now on this winning streak. And if they finish strong, then we could see them make that push. But definitely we're going to look back at some of those earlier losses, like the Jacksonville one, the Atlanta Falcons loss, the banked up Colts in week 4 that they had so many injuries that week. And it was a really putrid performance that Sunday. Maybe in the end we do look back at those and say, oh, well, any one of those games could have made the difference. Maybe they keep winning and they do somehow end up getting to the postseason.
I just talked about a little bit of the short passing game, and you did too. I wanted to ask you this. Okay, like I've made this point multiple times, and I want to hear your thoughts on this. Tua is clearly elevating people around him. You look at the pressure numbers with the offensive line have dipped, and that's because he's getting the ball out so quick, plus his pocket presence.
Jalen Waddle, when Brissett was running the show, he was on pace to be only the third rookie ever behind Keenan Allen and Jarvis Landry to have over 100 catches, but finish with under 1,000 yards. Since then, he's now on pace with Tua behind the helm over 1,000 yards, almost 1,100 in fact. You look at Matt Collins. When Matt Collins was in Philadelphia, now a lot of people who watch the show know Philly used to be my second favorite team because I was a huge McNabb guy. And when they made their hire this offseason, I was out. So it wasn't the enemy, so I was gone. So anyways, and I'm not a Hurts guy. I was not a fan of Hurts coming out of the draft. Anyways, I digress. Matt Collins, he couldn't stay healthy. Let's be honest, he was Mr. Irrelevant over in Philadelphia. Since he's come here, he's built something with Tua, whether that's being at Perform every day when they're training, whatever the case. They built some chemistry. They built some trust. Matt Collins is now kind of, in a weird way, like a household name to hardcore Dolphin fans, and it ain't because of his gunner work, all right? So you look at Tua, like he's legitimately, whether it's Matt Collins, whether it's Jalen Waddle, whether it's the offensive line, he's elevating guys around him. And Tua haters aside, Tua anon aside, all the people that are overzealous, all these people aside, do you think people are actually underrating how much Tua really is carrying this offense with guys like Jalen Waddle right now?
Yeah, to an extent. I mean, he's always a guy that, at least since he's been in the NFL, maybe the narrative was different when he was in college. People tend to slight him. It does seem to be kind of a narrative that nationally people don't want to give him the credit when the team is doing well and want to point to it. I mean, sometimes I've even seen some really lazy takes where going back to the preseason opener where I remember he completed every pass except for a drop and then the one interception that he had in that game against Chicago. And then obviously preseason opener, that's a big a week where everyone is evaluating every young quarterback to this great extent. And then the whole narrative was how Tua looked so awful in this game. And they only kept replaying the clip of the interception because that was the only bad throw he had, really. So, it does seem, I do get a sense of some of that for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so we got about like $80 million in cap heading into the offseason. With certain cuts, like certain guys, you can get up to like $100 million. Do you see the Dolphins investing big money with their cap space into the offensive line? Do you think they're actually going to do this, or is this going to be another season where Eichenberg, Jackson, and Davis, who are the three of the top four linemen in terms of pressure allowed, they're going to be in a potential role to start again next year?
Yeah, I think you're going to have to invest in at least one free agent offensive lineman, preferably a tackle. I wrote earlier this season, took a look at some of the free agents. I think leading the group of who would probably be there is Saints offensive tackle Teron Armstead. I don't think Brown over in Kansas City, I don't think they'll let him go, even though he is on last year's his contract. But I think you do need to start making some moves to fix this offensive line. As much as my colleague Omar Kelly was a Jesse Davis proponent early this season,
it's over, buddy.
He's gone the other way. He's gone the other way on it too since. Liam, he is still a rookie, but has had struggles at left tackle. The first round pick that he had the year before, Austin Jackson's had to be kicked inside to guard. So those three are among the league leaders in pressures allowed. So you can't. I know it's a young, developing group, and maybe you have some pieces that you can still work together, but you need at least one surefire veteran piece there that could then get the rest of the line to fall in place, along with Robert Hunt. I like what he's done at right guard, and a guy who had some success at right tackle as a rookie the year before. Then they moved inside this year. So I think, if you add another piece and you use some of that $80 million on the offensive line, I think that's one of the first places you have to go, if not the first place. Then, absolutely.
Call me greedy, but I want Ryan Jensen. Mm-hmm. And I want either Teron Armstead or I want to pluck Trent Brown from the Patriots. That's where I'm at. Yeah, because you know what? Honestly, with Jensen, I feel like you can kick Dieter back to left guard, and I think he's our best option there. He's going to give you more than what Austin Jackson does right there, I think, right now.
Right.
Okay, so we've talked about the offensive line a few times. Your thoughts on Lemuel Jean-Pierre, because I thought after they lost to Jacksonville, he was going to be the message they were going to send. I thought it was, good night, Charlie, for Lemuel after that game. Because I think they kind of, just for example, I know you watch the national narrative, obviously, and everyone was, even though some of the local media, not all, but some, everyone was making this narrative in the preseason that the playoffs are on Tua, right? Tua is going to lead us to the playoffs. And I was sitting here saying, whoa, 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 whoa. This offense will only go as far as this offensive line takes them, okay? And, they were kind of flirting with disaster here. You had a rookie first-time offensive line head coach. Now he's been an assistant coach. I get that. But a first-time head coach dealing with rookies, sophomores, and the best veteran he's got to lean on is Jesse Davis, all right? Do you think Lemuel Jean-Pierre is getting replaced in the offseason? Because do you think the way to go is with all this youth is a really seasoned guy? And they had him back. If you go back to 2019, they had Flaherty, and they got rid of Flaherty after 4 training camp sessions because he told them Dieter wasn't ready, so he was out the door. What do you think? Because I've even noticed in draft philosophies, you look when they had Steve Marshall last year as the offensive line coach, right? Austin Jackson, Robert Hunt, you look at their profiles, right? They are on the total opposite spectrum of Liam Eichenberg's athletic profile, like 6'6", 302, not really a good athlete, not really good feet, more technically sound. He relies on technique to win his battles, T-Rex arms. You know what I mean? Like, he really didn't fit the athletic profile they had been going with offensive linemen yet. And clearly maybe the switching coaching to Lemuel Jean-Pierre had an effect on that. What are your thoughts on Lemuel Jean-Pierre, and do you think he's replaced in the offseason?
Well, especially given how much Brian Flores has replaced offensive line coaches. What's the number now? 4 in 3 years. I didn't cover the first 2, but 4 in 3 years, right? Yeah. You would think so. And I was with you earlier this season. I thought it might happen within the year, but they have held on to him. And when you have a young group like that, then maybe you would want someone who is more seasoned and experienced in that role to lead this group and develop them. So, but as of today, Brian Flores spoke to us, and he feels the offensive line is improving as much as maybe it's a lot of it a byproduct of the short passing game masking some of those deficiencies. I know that their pressure allowed percentage has at least gone up to somewhere more respectable or closer to middle of the pack when you go by percentage, because they've played an extra game. So I think the total pressures are still among the league leaders. But Jean-Pierre could be replaced. I mean, if you think of one position coach where a group hasn't been developed as much, then I would point to the offensive line. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Tua's established himself as hands down probably the best RPO quarterback in the NFL right now, but he's done that with no run game, a battle line, and a constantly banged up wide receiver corps. How impressive that is to you when you actually put it all in context? And B, has it, does it make you think that his ceiling is much higher than we think it is right now? Because of, hey, if you give him that offensive line, if you give him, a couple weapons, is it one of those things where, hey, the sky might be the limit for this kid?
Sure, yeah. I mean, he can certainly be a lot better than what people anticipated going into this season, middle of the year. I mean, it was really tough that he had his own injuries to deal with. I mean, twice the ribs, the finger. That's another thing is his durability. That is a concern, and that's one thing that makes it tough on you, and is why, honestly, the Dolphins are still flirting with the idea of bringing in Deshaun Watson. But I certainly, going up to the trade deadline, I think, Tua's got this chance to prove it himself over this final stretch. He's taken his first few games back from the finger injury to show he could be the guy that the organization could and probably should have more confidence in him, especially given all the things that have worked against him. And I think Flo understands that as well, because he said as much in a lot of press conferences. So, I'm with you on that for sure.
Do you think he's quieting any of the noise down in the organization about Watson right now with this play?
Yeah, I mean, when you're winning, that cures everything. So he's been a big part of this 5-game winning streak. I think some of the concerns you've seen kind of mitigated. Even, he finally hit a deep ball when he did it against the Jets. Yeah, I think so.
All right, let's switch to the defense here. I'm going to flat out ask you, is Javon Holland the best defensive player on the team right now, or do you think it's still Xavier Howard?
Ooh, I think you still got to give it to X right now. I mean, he's won a couple games for you almost on his own. At the New England game in the opener, the Dolphins were dead with the Patriots in the red zone and a chance to win. And then he goes and punches the ball out, gets the ball back for the Dolphins, and that was that. The Ravens game, he changed the complexion of that one with his it was a pick six in that one. It was scoring on defense. So, yeah, you still got to give the edge to X. And, but between Javon, the impact he's had, starting as a rookie, being versatile, exhibiting his blitz abilities, which actually is something he didn't do that much in college. Very sparing. I don't even think he had a college sack, but something that the Dolphins found they could use with him and both Brandon Jones in the safety group. So, but yeah, and even Jalen Phillips has impressed a lot in these past couple of weeks. Just adding that pass rush that was absent earlier this season. Now, especially with him in multiple sacks in games, and he's really come into his own as well. But X, I'd still give definitely the nod as the top defensive player on the team to X.
But buddy, this stretch has been good for the brand. My wide receiver 1 was Jalen Waddle. My edge 2 was Jalen Phillips. My edge 1 was Azeez Ojulari. And my safety 1 was Javon Holland. I've actually been talking about Javon Holland to Dolphin fans since 2019. I absolutely loved that kid. I started watching him because I was watching Herbert, right? And then I just fell in love watching Javon Holland. I was like, this kid is – because they'd use him on the boundary. They'd use him in the slot. They'd use him in the box. They'd use him single high. I was like, whoa, this is like Jamal Adams type of versatility I'm seeing here. How impressed have you been with Wilkins in his third year and the step that he's taken this year? He's one of the leaders. I think he's second in the NFL in run stops. He's second or third in the NFL in run stops. He's getting more pressure, which is one thing we wanted to see add to his repertoire, disrupt the pass a little bit more. What have you thought about Wilkins' third year this year?
Yeah, he's taking a big step, and obviously the Dolphins' run defense has made strides going back to – a lot of it is lined up with Raekwon Davis's return to the lineup.
Yep.
He had a knee injury earlier, but also Christian Wilkins against the run. Zach Sealer's another guy. This tandem has really been effective in stopping the run. That's why we've seen this run where it's been several games where they're holding opponents under 100 yards after it was almost a given earlier in the season that every team the Dolphins lined up against, they were going to be able to run the football, and the Dolphins were toward the bottom of the league there. So, but Wilkins has been a big part of that, and collectively as a group of defensive line has left you with a lot to be pleased with.
What do you think changed philosophically since week 1? I mean, defensive wise. I mean, on this winning streak, they've gone back to the defensive bread and butter with the cover zero, the safety blitzes. You look back in the first 8 games, we're playing a lot more zone than normal, and this is a team that wasn't built that way. We were built for the press man, especially in the secondary. What do you think changed? What do you think it was like? I know Byron and X were battling groin injuries. Yeah. Do you think that's why they're – because I know X. Listen, I talked to some people privately. I know X was mad about the Bucks game and being fed in the slot to Antonio Brown. I know that did not sit well with X. What have been your thoughts on what they've changed philosophically? Because, David, my whole thing was, if you would have done this against Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence would not have put up over 300 yards against you.
No.
Now, I agree you couldn't have done it against the Patriots because Belichick was probably expecting it in week 1. So I get that. But Atlanta, you would have done that to them? I mean, in overtime, in the fourth down scoring drive, you don't got Kyle Pitts wide open in the middle on zone. Ryan's probably laying on his back. What do you think changed philosophically? Was it the injuries, how banged up they were? What do you think it was?
Yeah, especially since we saw earlier in the year, you talk about a tight end like Kyle Pitts, we saw them be able to put a guy like Byron or Eric Rowe has had success sometimes covering those bigger tight ends. We saw it in week 3 against Darren Waller, how they were able to at least mitigate him. But yeah, I mean, I think what I was going to point to before you mentioned it was, definitely the corners are healthy now. So Xavier Howard, Byron Jones getting over their groin, quad injuries. That has helped. That allows them to play that man coverage where previously I think they were, as much as they won't want to admit it, they were trying to get them to sit in the zone and not have to put so much stress on those legs, running around chasing guys in man coverage. Whereas now, them being healthy, that allows them to go ahead and play that coverage. And then you feel confident enough in them that you don't need the help over the top, so you're going to use those safeties to blitz. It's just such a trickle-down effect having that, which is what the defense is really based around. So, yeah, that's definitely been, I feel, the big domino that has allowed them to play that way philosophically on defense.
All right, I just got a couple questions left for here because I know you're pressed on time. This team, in my opinion, is a true stud Mike linebacker away from being truly elite. They've already produced top 10 defense. Do you think they're that far off? Like, do you think they're like one more linebacker away and maybe some depth pieces?
I would say, yeah. I mean, I don't think that's a hot take. I think that's you could be right on there with that. When you look across the board on this defense, I mean, going in, I know one fan asked me a Dolphins Q&A question, one of our segments that we do, a series that we do, and yeah, they asked what's the ceiling of this defense, top 5, top 3, and I said, yeah, I mean, they could be one of those types of defenses, and we didn't see it early, but yeah, when you look at the defensive line, and we talked about that, how those pieces have fallen into place with Wilkins' play and Raekwon Davis switching back into the lineup, and now the pass rush with Phillips, Agba, how he also backs passes, and the safety tandem, the cornerbacks. You look at all of that in unison. Sure, yeah, if one more linebacker away, I would say that's not far off. Yeah.
What do you think's going on with Jason Sanders? I mean, do you think this is all mental at this point?
Yeah, it's tough to say with kickers, and I mean, we've asked Danny Crossman multiple times. He says it's nothing wrong with his mechanics. He hasn't had to change anything. That it's not Michael Pilardi being his holder now or anything from last year when it was Matt Hawk, and obviously he only missed 3 field goals last year with that tandem. But it's been tough for him. Crossman has said multiple times it's just it's such a small margin for kickers sometimes that it happens. It's tough to be consistent. But, yeah, I mean, you would have to venture to believe probably mental at this point. If from everything we're hearing, the mechanics, his fundamentals there's nothing off with that, then, yeah, probably.
Who's been the most impressive player for you this year so far?
Boy, yeah, I mean, we've probably mentioned a lot of them, but Jalen Waddle is on pace for a rookie an NFL rookie receptions record. So, I mean, whenever you do that, sure, yeah, and a lot of people give him stuff about it's all short passes. I mean, you mentioned it earlier. He's expanded a little bit since Tua's come back, gotten some more downfield catches in there. But, yeah, I mean, anytime you're up for an NFL rookie record, then sure, you got to say him. Yeah, I mean, we mentioned Javon Holland. The question is, was it surprising or
most impressive? Just the most
impressive. Yeah, impressive. Yeah. So probably from where you were going in. Sure. Yeah, those are a couple for sure. And Jalen Phillips of late, I think has definitely stepped up, and we've seen it with the 5 sacks in the last 2 games.
Who's been the most disappointing player to you this year? And I mean, take your pick of the offensive line, really.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. So, boy, yeah, it's right. Take your pick because you could go the Austin Jackson route that he had to be moved inside. He's supposed to be the left tackle. You pick a first-round left tackle, and he's in his second year. You're anticipating he's going to be a franchise player there, but now you've had to move him in year 2, and then you have another rookie that maybe your thought was right tackle for Liam Eichenberg, but then because of that, you've thrust him into left tackle, which is something he's done plenty at Notre Dame, but results haven't been there. Jesse Davis, of course. So, yeah, I mean, probably across the offensive line.
All right, man. I appreciate you doing this and just plug anything you have. And I mean, hey, you think we can win this out or what?
Yeah, it's definitely possible. Now you have this late bye week, so this is the benefit of that. Everyone was on this team for not having the post-London bye. probably affected them there. But now if this can kind of flip the script where you have this late rest, and sure, it also maybe halts some momentum that the team has going. But now you rest it up for this final stretch. The Jets, we've seen what the Saints look like since Jameis Winston went down. So that Monday night game, the Titans not going to have Derrick Henry. So obviously that was one that you looked at earlier in the year and thought, oh, well, but now that the dynamic of that one changes, and obviously the defense getting a chance to go up against Tannehill, that'll be a lot of fun. And then if you just put yourself in a position where you go into that regular season finale and it still means something, and you have a shot there, then you get to play the Patriots at home. What more could you ask for? So especially with the way this team started. So yeah, you said plug. Obviously you can catch all our coverage sunsentinel.com, Miami Dolphins tab, and follow me on Twitter at David Furones _. Yeah, also on Instagram, David.Furones.
Thank you very much for doing this, David. I appreciate you coming on, man. It was a joy.
Yeah, it was fun.
Guys, once again, I want to thank David for coming on and taking some time out of his busy schedule. It was an absolute pleasure to talk to him. Look forward to having him on sometime in the near future, maybe after the season. Knock on wood, if we make the playoffs, maybe hopefully I can get him on during the playoff run. Absolute pleasure to talk with him, to communicate with him. Great guy. Thanks again, David, for coming on. And guys, I hope everyone has a fantastic Thursday. You are going to see me back here on Friday. I'm going to have something for you. So be out on the lookout. I'm probably going to be shooting for between around 8 o'clock on Friday. So be out on the lookout. I'll be dropping something on Friday night with you guys. We'll be going live. So I got something in the works. We'll see how it pans out. But I'll see you guys Friday night. Appreciate each and every one of you. Stay happy, healthy, safe, and blessed. And you already know what time it is. Fins up all day, every day. See you Friday, guys.